Hey everyone, welcome back to the next episode of The First Gen Psychologist. The First Gen Psychologist is a series focused on destigmatizing mental health, as well as highlighting topics of empowerment and personal development for first gen professionals and centered just on the first gen experience. So I'm Dr. Lisette. I'm the first gen psychologist. My pronouns are she, her, ella, and I'm a first gen Latina psychologist, speaker, coach, writer, and today I am your host. Today we are going to talk about something that's really important, and I'm so excited to share a bit more about our guest today, but we'll be speaking on how to navigate leadership anxiety as a first-gen professional. And we will be speaking more about this with Dr. Christine Coleman, who's a PhD and LMFT, licensed therapist, speaker, consultant, and executive coach. And I will share that I am sure that there is more to this list that we always share some of them, but there is much more to this list than I've shared so far. So let me speak a bit more on Dr. Christine Coleman. So Dr. Christine Coleman, she is the founder and CEO of POC Thriving, People of Color Thriving, a private practice specializing in the intersection of mental health and diversity, equity, and inclusion. Dr. Coleman holds 15 years of clinical training, predominantly in service to marginalized communities. Dr. Coleman's current practice prioritizes the psychological and emotional well-being of BIPOC, which is Black, Indigenous, and people of color professionals. Dr. Coleman also supports companies and organizations with mental health, inclusivity, and belonging initiatives so they can better prioritize the psychological well-being and retention of employees, particularly those of color. Dr. Coleman is also the founder and co-executive director of Soul Sisters, a nonprofit with a mission to help women overcome societal barriers by providing educational and empowering experiences that promote personal and professional evolution, and an executive coach to women of color leaders. She also recently founded the Women of Color Thriving Collective, set to be the leading network for women of color leaders. And so a little bit more about Dr. Coleman. She holds a BS in psychology from Azusa Pacific University, a master's in counseling psychology from the University of San Francisco, a license to practice marriage and family therapy in California, and a PhD in marriage and family therapy from Eastern University. So like I said, there's so much more to this list, and I know there's so much more that I didn't share. So Dr. Christine, welcome. How are you?
Thank you so much. Thank you for that introduction and for holding this platform and space. I'm so honored to be here.
Yeah, so exciting. So let's just jump straight into this. And so what is leadership anxiety, and how does it specifically manifest for first generation professionals?
Absolutely. So, I admit I have been working with leaders for just about 3.5 years formally, but also have been a leader myself, developing leader over time, worked with high school students before. So to move into this space in my private practice and also executive coaching and working with corporations, I actually didn't know this was a thing. I didn't know that it was a formal term. But I saw it, right? I was exposed to it myself. I was exposed to it in therapy and executive coaching clients, both those who come to me as consumers and those who I serve within companies and organizations, right? And so essentially, leadership anxiety is kind of what it sounds like. It is anxiety around your performance, around the way that you show up as a leader. And that can encompass a variety of things that I'm sure we'll jump into. But essentially, I want folks to know anxiety as a broader term. I'd like to define it as a fear of the unknown. Oftentimes we are stressed or overwhelmed, but it is rooted in worry, right? And oftentimes that worry is out of things that haven't happened yet. So pin anxiety with your role as a leader, especially in formal spaces like at work, in your community and otherwise. Leadership anxiety definitely can exist when you are in a role to report, to understand the different needs of the organization and the people within it, and also to produce, right, to meet expectations. So there can be a lot of anxiety that comes with that specific role or those roles that you may hold.
Yes, no, absolutely. So one, recognizing, yes, anxiety being fear of the unknown. And when you're entering into a leadership position, and I think of it, especially as a first-gen professional, oftentimes first-gen professionals, you're the first, right? And so there's often this fear sometimes with asking for help when there's something that we don't know. And if you add a title to that, I'm also a leader, then you have this almost thought process of, I should know how to do this, and I don't know how to do this, and now I'm anxious about it.
Yes, exactly. No, thank you for noting that. And again,
Yeah.
I love to be in this
Yeah.
space with you because it is so essential for first
Mhm.
gen folks to see themselves and have these conversations and hopefully know that they're not alone. And as we continue to get messages and have our own drive to keep on climbing, which we all
Yeah.
deserve as much as we are led to do,
Mhm.
folks in our familias, folks in our
Yeah.
community saying, you can do it, self saying,
Yeah.
I got this, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't know what to expect on the other side of
Yeah.
potentially this anxiety or now I've reached this level, there are less and less people who look like me, and there's less people to
Yeah.
go to who I really feel safe with emotionally or psychologically to process these needs or
Yeah.
concerns I have. So I see this a lot in my clients, and it is a really lonely
Mhm.
journey. But I just want to say today doesn't have to be. And again, normalizing
Yeah.
these conversations are part of that healing process.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. And so as we talk about it, right, there's probably people who are listening and saying, like, I've experienced this. What are some maybe practical tips or strategies for folks that are maybe having experienced leadership anxiety to help them navigate and overcome it as first gen professionals?
absolutely. Well, I think just generally for all folks who are struggling with any form of anxiety, it's really
Yeah.
important to note I am anxious, right? I
Mhm.
need to be attentive to what is
Mhm.
going on in my body, in my thoughts. And when we have a
Yeah.
name for it, when we're able to understand anxiety is a real thing, I
Yeah.
feel it in my breath. I feel it in the tension I
Yeah.
hold. I feel it in certain spaces around certain people where I
Mhm.
notice I'm performing or acting a little bit differently.
Mhm.
After I leave that space, I'm still thinking about it. When we are able to recognize, oh, that's anxiety, I'm aware. I understand what that is. That is also then an entry point to be able
Mm.
to recognize, okay, this is what I'm holding. Now I can do something with it. I think it's really important for us to continue to seek safety in relationships, in comunidad, whether that
Yeah.
is at work. I hope it is. Again, our workplaces are continuously pushing for diversity. Are we all doing a great job? I would argue maybe not always, but I think that slowly but surely companies are
Mhm.
doing their best. And you are part of that charge, right? So to
Yeah.
have a place of safety and rest
Okay.
in therapy, in
Mhm.
community, in friendships with people who can identify,
Yeah.
also finding other leaders. I have a
Mhm.
women of color executive coaching program, which is really
Mhm.
a beautiful way to show, oh, you have that experience? I do too. I thought I was the only one, right? So when we
Yeah.
find people with similar experiences, not only
Mhm.
in life, but also in our leadership, I think that really, really stands for something strong that can help
Yeah.
us continue to be recharged and go back into the workplace. Because I know and I trust that you are in this leadership role to make a
Mhm.
difference,
Yes,
to have representation, to say we can
absolutely.
do things different, y'all. But
Mhm.
sometimes when we're the only ones, the anxiety can ramp up and we can start to
Yeah.
do those things that we mentioned earlier. So to be aware of the anxiety, to be in
Mhm.
community. If the anxiety is feeling like it's overwhelming you more than you have control of it, that I think Dr. Lizette and I would argue and encourage you
Yeah.
thinking about maybe some more professional ongoing help, which is not
Yes.
bad. It is actually really essential so that you can continue to tend to yourself as you tend to others.
No, absolutely. I love, that you bring in the community aspect as well, because I
Mhm.
think with anything when we're speaking on mental health concerns or something, a mental health battle almost that someone's experiencing, there's always this thought of, "I'm alone in this." Like, no one would understand, no one gets this, and I have to now navigate this all alone. And realizing that those same thoughts that you're having around I'm alone in this, someone else is having those as well. And that's why communities such as your group, the women of color like leaders, like
Yes, yes.
it's so powerful because then you're like, oh, si se puede. Like I can experience these challenges, but I can also overcome them, and also I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Um, and so as we're thinking about the different ways and perspectives, I wanted to check in with you about, like first generation professionals do have unique perspectives. Is there
Yes.
any way for them to leverage them to experience their best strengths in their leadership positions?
Yes, I really want to encourage folks, just like we're doing today, get on the podcasts, get your name
Yeah.
out there, build
Yeah.
up your brand. It is not, I mean, I think
Mhm.
Dr. Lizette and I could probably I could speak for myself, but I would imagine, I think when we were in the process of continuing our leadership growth, it wasn't like I want to do it because I want to be on these platforms, maybe to a degree, but we wanted
Yeah.
to just do the work. And as you recognize that you're growing in your leadership, your voice matters, your thought leadership matters, and it makes influence within your workplace, but also so
Yeah.
much broader, including the people in our specific cultural communities who really need to
Yeah.
know there are others doing this. So
Yeah.
diversify your audience, get out there on your
Mhm.
social media I don't care if you have 50 followers, like those are people, you know what I mean? So if we have, you have a leadership role within your company or organization, or you work for yourself and you're thinking, what else can I do to leverage the perspective I have? I would really encourage you to get your opinion out there, get your voice out there, start a platform of your own. When we put ourselves more out there, it can be vulnerable and a little scary, but that at the same time is a way for you to recognize I have a voice, I have an opinion, and I have experience that deserves some attention, some credit, right? So that way, when other doors open for you, you already know I'm an established thought leader. I have I have this title, but I also have the knowledge and I know how to interact and share my message. So it's just really important for us to build that confidence in that more professional realm. But I think it also starts with who fuels me, who believes in me, who hypes me up. I really believe in a strong hype team, Dr. Lizette. It doesn't have to be a bunch of people, but if you have some comadres, some folks, some family members, some other people in your leadership role that maybe don't even work with you or do, we need that love and attention to say, you've got this, you're doing enough, keep on going, right? So when we have that, then I think it fuels us to be able to share that with larger or different platforms and it's to strengthen and position us of I am a leader here as well in the world.
No, absolutely. So like what I heard in that was a lot of, when we lean into that community, then we receive more of that encouragement and sort of can take the confidence that we're not feeling and I guess experience the confidence that others are putting in us and then bring that into the spaces where we're leaders, bring those perspectives into, those like team meetings and not being as afraid. I think oftentimes as first gen, there's always this, what if I say the wrong thing? What if I ask the stupid question? And, ask the stupid question, say the wrong thing, and notice that most of the time it's met with, oh, it's no big deal. Like, oh, it's actually this. We've had a miscommunication and realizing that it's not as big as we made it out to be in our minds.
That's right. I mean, y'all, I talk to a lot of executives of all backgrounds, including folks from the dominant culture, white people, white males. We're all struggling. They're not smarter than you. They're not better than you. I want that to be loud and clear. We feel that because we've internalized that and we do our best to navigate these really challenging systems. But guaranteed, nobody is better than you. People act like they are sometimes, and that's what makes it really challenging. And that's why I want us to take care of our hearts and again, lean into what feels safe and good for us. But at the end of the day, once I started doing this work, because I've wrestled with that myself too, of course, not to do that. The imposter phenomenon is real, but also know that it does not have to have a hold over us. When we understand and look broader, right? People make mistakes at the core of us. We do not know everything. I don't know where we got that idea that we had to know everything, period. It's a really unhealthy thought process, but we hold it. And then compiled with assimilation and acculturation and all these expectancies of people, especially in first gen roles and positions, it is all the more heavy. But I want to just make sure you know that is not the case because I have firsthand knowledge it is not the case. And people are really just out here trying to do their best. But it is especially layered when you are of a first gen background. We know that for sure.
Yeah, it's our intersectional identity is right. They contribute to how we experience the world and how you filter everything that you're experiencing, right? And so, but I love kind of adding in it's as a leader, anyone who's a leader, regardless of their background, will experience self-doubt, will experience, sometimes feeling like an imposter, will experience the insecurities around the decisions that they've made. And normalizing that so that when you're feeling it, it's not, oh, it must be because I'm first gen that I feel this way. No, everyone would feel that way in your position. Anyone would feel that way in that position. You might just be feeling it a bit more intensely because of the other intersectional identities, but that is not something that's just unique to you.
Exactly. How liberating is that when we start to really peel that back and say, it's not me. I'm not behind. I'm not faulted or faulty, right? It is really important to remember. And that takes time, right? Because we've been conditioned to think these things about ourselves and we continue to be flooded with those messages, especially in this really tense climate that we're in politically and socially. And so when we are on the edge of ourselves and entering this company and supposed to have it all together and have all the answers and know how to put out fires and all of the above, that is a lot of energy and effort. and it can be really exhausting and tolling. So I do want to make sure that in this conversation, we're also really talking about ways to just find a lot of joy and freedom. I know you talk about that a lot, Dr. Lizette,
Yeah.
where our whole people and our
Yes.
identities are intersectional from the
Yes.
core of ourselves, but our identities are also broader in the things that we are and the roles that we hold outside of our own identities within. So
Yeah.
having fun, knowing what we like, knowing who we are. It's what I run into a lot with women of color leaders. I am so tied to what I do, I kind of forgot who I am. And so
Yeah.
when we really start to pause and think about, wait, let me look at this identity a bit more broadly here.
Yeah.
Yes, I might be a daughter, I might be a leader, I might be a mom, I might be all these different things, but who am I? What do I like? What
Yeah.
brings me joy? We are
Mm-hmm.
whole holistic human beings that we often sometimes forget or maybe don't have all the space for to process
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Yeah, and I love how you explain, like, sometimes, yeah, we don't feel that we have the space, but that's what we've talked about. Sometimes having that professional support, whether it's a mental health professional or even starting with like a network, a group of people, like
Yes.
that Slack, where it's like people can encourage you, can really help with shifting that perspective. So as we talk about this, I would love to learn more from you. Like, what consejos would you give to first-gen professionals who are currently experiencing this? So like, we've got a few advice tips here and there, so let's summarize it for folks.
Yeah, let's summarize it. Well, first, again, I think it was loud and clear, but I hope it's even more clear for you to hear that you're not alone. It is not you. Okay, leadership anxiety and this role of leadership pressure goes across cultures, and it is real. And I think that maybe that speaks to a broader conversation about what are we doing to our leaders to have them in such a hold of expectation. But for first gen specifically, to really understand that your leadership role is something that is a responsibility, but it is not your whole identity, right? When we draw boundaries with ourselves, with the people we work with who answer to us or who we might have to answer to that are even potentially higher than us, so to speak, on this interesting hierarchy that we've created in these systems, that we really know that that also is one section of ourselves. And so when we can really broaden ourselves to understand that I'm aware of my anxiety, I might have it, I have support for it, and I can seek it out. Sometimes that support's not always going to be coming to you. So this is the part that feels hard. Well, I don't know where to go. No one's helping me. This is the part where we need to be able to step out, even in vulnerability and a little bit of fear, to say, I need and I deserve to get some support. So that is really important. I hope that you, again, know you're not alone. No, it is not you. You are not a problem. And also, you deserve this leadership space. You deserve this leadership space. All that you, your ancestors, the people behind you, the people who are in your physical presence in this moment are cheering for you. We are cheering for you. We want to see you continue to make a positive influence in this world. So we got you. You deserve it. Keep on climbing.
Absolutely. Thank you. I love that. I'm just like, all right, I'm ready. I'm ready to tackle anything today. I was just like, absorbing it. I was like, that's me. Take it all in.
Yes.
So speaking of all of this, and we're talking about support, but how can we support you and your work?
Thank you so much. Well, this, I hope it's clear, is definitely a passion of mine. You heard my bio. At the end of the day, it really is important for us to continue to know who are the people who are specifically experts in these experiences, in these roles. So I'm continuously growing in my expertise to serve primarily BIPOC, especially women of color, in leadership roles. So if you hold a leadership role in your community, in your workplace, specifically kind of director to senior level to executive level roles, I would love to invite you to come follow me on Instagram. Check out my website, drchristinecoleman.com. That's lovely as sliding by us here. And you see my handle here. And I do have a Women of Color Thriving executive coaching program that runs periodically throughout the year. It is a private executive coaching program for women of color in leadership. And we go through 12 weeks of various parts of ourselves. We focus on the self, our relationship to our work, our relationship to our loved ones, which often sometimes we have our own challenges with managing our relationships with our personal people in our lives. And then our relationship to society, because we know about that intersectional identity and the parts that show up for us, and to really come to a place where we're thriving and balanced as much as we can be in all of them, with my help, as well as a community that we've continued to build at Women of Color Thriving. So you can find out more information about that if and when you follow me, I really hope you do. Please stay connected. Know that I am here for you, and I appreciate you supporting my work.
Yes, yes. And please, I will reiterate, follow Dr. Christine Coleman on social media. I love all of her posts. I always feel inspired by them. And I'm like, oh, look at this. And I love how you also uplift a lot of the members of your Women of Color Thriving community. Like I'll see posts about them and their testimonials and how much they've benefited from being a part of it. And so I'm like, this is awesome. I love seeing that.
Yes. Yes. So I love to see people win. I especially love to see women and women of color win. So I'm your biggest cheerleader. And I hope that you continue to connect with me there. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Coleman. It was such a pleasure to have you on. And for those of you who are tuning in, thank you for tuning in. Please share this with anyone who you think may benefit. And please subscribe to this channel to never miss an episode. There's a new episode every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for as long as I can keep this up. So thank you all again for joining, and have a great rest of your days.